So back in Vegas this time for, as you can see, the IBM Edge conference. My quick takeaway from this before we really get started is there was a lot of surprise in this conference, and perhaps the first one of all was IBM, the granddaddy of IT, starts like this. So everyone knows IBM and they call it Big Blue, that's what it's known as. And one of the things of Big Blue is that big's important because this is a huge company, massive portfolio. One of the problems with that is it's hard to know what they've really got. I talked about surprise earlier, and there may be lots of surprising ingredients and nuggets, but sometimes putting things together is hard both for IBM and therefore for its customers. So I asked a couple of people about how IBM is dealing with this. The first person I managed to speak to was Chris Algozzine, who is in storage product marketing.
One of the great things that I want everybody to know about Edge and take away from this conference is kind of like the food at the buffet, where you have all of these choices. And when it comes to storage solutions, you have choices. And so it's a bit of a hodgepodge where there's some things in the choices that you may need and some things that you don't need. There may even be some things that you really want but shouldn't have. And so you sign yourselves up for those too. But in the end, the important thing is that the solution that you build from the buffet of storage is the solution that you really need. Because infrastructure matters, and the innovation that you're driving at your company is a lot like putting together a plate full of food at the buffet.
So good for Chris. Andy got his lunch, which is doubly good. I then got a couple of minutes with Anise Mastin, who's more from the Tivoli side of the company, and obviously very often you see these, to use the food analogy, as different courses, where of course what we really want is a meal. And I wanted to know, what's IBM doing to bring these two sides together?
So Chris provided an interesting take on our plethora of capabilities. The interesting thing is our business, IBM, on the hardware, software, and services, we understand that we must place one message in the marketplace. So we're coming together to actually demonstrate how we can deliver on data resiliency, data automation, and data acceleration. Because although many vendors say that, IBM has vendor-neutral capabilities to actually deliver to transform your environment to a software-defined environment for cost-effective outcomes.
So this sort of chart of all the sessions, this is what we're used to in big events like this. It's just one session, one product detail after another. I mentioned when I started this that if I took anything away from Edge 2014, it was surprise at IBM. So let me just give you a couple of the surprising things. They had a series of what they called Edge Talks, and the one that will stick with everyone who was here was the Renegade Gardener, who made us think differently. And if that sounds very IBM-ish, it was, but not in a way you could really imagine. We then had one of the other customers, which I thought was really interesting. Putting big data into a surprisingly human form was a guy from the NFL, who talked about the broadcast opportunities and how they put together their season, who plays what, where, whom. There are trillions of combinations, even though you know what games are actually going to be played. And then finally, I think a story that stuck with us and again kept everything very human, and again, for me, very surprising from an IBM perspective, was the story of a girl in the UK who got a local grocery chain to change their bread from being tiger bread to being giraffe bread because she looked like that and her mother got on Facebook, and it's a whole long story. But the point is, this was surprisingly tangible for IBM. It wasn't just sessions. You've got to do all this stuff, of course you have. But if it can keep doing that, then maybe Edge will become something that IBM has and not just the name of their conference.